I can't believe Jim Ross got cut off mid-sentence by American Dad. That's how Dynamite went off the air tonight. This is your AEW Dynamite review for Wednesday, July 6, 2022. I am the Solomonster. Hope everybody had an enjoyable July 4th. Didn't have to work, didn't have to do anything. Of course, I always work. But thank you for joining me and choosing me for your Dynamite coverage here tonight. A Dynamite highlighted by a TNT Championship title change to open the show, and what I thought was a strong main event for the Interim AEW World title to close out the night between Jon Moxley and Brody King. Not Brody Lee, as Jim Ross called him. I was just waiting for it to happen. And sure enough, we did not get out of the main event without a Brody Lee mention. But I thought it was a strong main event to close out what was a good show overall. This was not one of their stronger episodes. I did enjoy it for the most part. Not everything on the show, but I enjoyed it for the most part. I thought it progressed the things that it had to progress. And there were a few moments that we'll get into here that I thought were positive and that I enjoyed, including that main event. But Wardlow is the new TNT champion. They didn't play any games tonight. There were no big swerves or screw jobs or anything like that. Wardlow went in there. The fans wanted him to walk out with the TNT title. He had promised to walk out with the TNT title, and that is exactly what he did. So 2 very forgettable runs as TNT champion for Scorpio Sky. And Christian Cage continues to be one of the best parts about Dynamite each week, without even wrestling a match. I am very much enjoying this new Christian Cage. And we actually got some more news tonight on the Ring of Honor pay-per-view coming up on July 23rd. Still no other updates on Ring of Honor, but the card is now forming. The card is now coming together for Death Before Dishonor, which is coming up on the 23rd of this month. Hit that like button, and Super Chats are open. I will be reading your Super Chats. I thank you all for your support. I want to send a very special shout out to Josh C98 and Shaheen Alatar for renewing their Sound Off channel membership for another month. Shaheen's been a legend now on this channel for almost a year, so special shout out to him. And I also want to just remind everybody, this right here was the setup earlier today because we had a special watch along for Canadian Stampede in your house. And indeed, that is now up on the channel. You can find it. That is the thumbnail to go look for. That was exclusively for channel members. Today was 25 years to the day, the 25-year anniversary of one of the greatest pay-per-views in WWE history, and one of the most memorable main events in WWE history, from the Saddle Dome in Calgary, Alberta. And so I thought, what better way to celebrate here 25 years later to the day than to do a live watch along for the main event. So we had some fun with that. It's up. It's archived for you to follow along. If you couldn't join us earlier, I give you the time code on Peacock so you can follow from the exact moment. And we had a grand old time. So again, that is up for channel members. If you missed it earlier, perhaps you were working or you were sleeping or you were already at the bar and you were about 4 Jack and Cokes in, like the degenerate that you are. It's okay. I won't judge. This is a judge-free zone. We're not going to judge anybody here. Quick update before we get into the show tonight on Santana, because I have not seen much mentioned about this. But we were talking about it last week after the Blood and Guts match. Santana clearly was injured, and it looked like a knee injury. It was on a Uranage that he gave to Daniel Garcia. Just the way that he planted his leg, it did not look good. And he ended up not doing much in the match. The update on Santana, it's not a huge update, but Tony Khan was on Busted Open Radio this morning. And he did mention something very briefly about Santana without giving any specific details on exactly what the injury is or the severity of it. But he did say that it could be a relatively long injury. So I think anybody suspecting maybe an ACL injury, which was my first thought, a long layoff would suggest a major knee injury and probably knee surgery. So It doesn't look good. If you're a Santana and Ortiz fan hoping for a quick return, I would not hold my breath on that. He talked to Santana after the match, said that the company will stand by him and support him through his recovery, which he said is the right thing to do. Santana has only said one thing. On Monday, he went public for the first time, and this was the only thing he tweeted. He said, "It's been an overwhelming last few days, but I just want to take a second to say thank you." And so that is the update on Santana. It looks like Ortiz is going to be going solo for a while. I talked about this on the podcast, that there was some discussion about whether or not there's been some kind of rift between Santana and Ortiz. And nobody knows for sure except the two of them. It has been very strange when you see them on TV. They're not really standing together. When Ortiz had his hair match with Jericho a few weeks ago, it was Eddie Kingston in his corner and not Santana. On Santana's social media, you could tell he's been doing a lot more single stuff on the independent scene. He's won some championships. All the AEW photos on his Instagram, you really can't find any sightings of Ortiz. A lot of the images, he's kind of cropped out of them. So I don't know what's going on, but I don't know that Santana and Ortiz are going to be a thing much longer in AEW if I were a betting man. So, but best wishes to him, whatever the nature of the injury is. I hope that he can come back soon enough. So, the show tonight opened up with Excalibur, Taz, and Tony Schiavone at the announce desk, with Wardlow coming out for his street fight for the TNT Championship with Scorpio Sky. This is what they opened the show with tonight. They didn't waste any time. Wardlow making his entrance all the way from the back down to the ring. Sky took advantage of those rules very early in the match by kicking Wardlow in the crotch. And Wardlow came right back, though, with a belly-to-belly overhead suplex. So no selling mostly no selling the nut shot, making a comeback on his own. Outside the ring, Dan Lambert was out there with a bunch of American Top Team members who, frankly, I didn't recognize. Just a bunch of random dudes outside the ring. And they distracted Wardlow long enough for Scorpio to send the big guy knees first into the ring steps, heading into the first ad break. They came back from break, and Wardlow hit a huge senton off the top rope that got a massive reaction. This guy cleared half the ring. He's a big dude. I'm not saying he's 7 feet tall, 350 pounds, but Wardlow is a big guy to be doing Jeff Hardy swanton bombs off the top rope. He cleared half the ring to connect with Scorpio Sky, and the crowd was very impressed by that. Before he could commence the Powerbomb Symphony, though, all the ATT members ran into the ring, and they tried to subdue Wardlow. They tried to save Scorpio Sky and take down Wardlow. It didn't work out too well for them. He dispatched them one by one. But then he turned around. He walked right into a belt shot by Scorpio Sky. Whacked him right in the head with the TNT title. He went for the pin. Wardlow, though, kicked out. Sky went for his finish, but Wardlow pushed him off into Dan Lambert, who had climbed up onto the apron, and so Sky collided with him. Lambert got knocked off the apron to the floor, and Wardlow commenced the Powerbomb Symphony. I love that Jericho super chat. I don't even remember what he was making fun of in that super chat, but that look on his face always gets me. So Wardlow commences the Powerbomb Symphony. So we got one Powerbomb, right? And I'm thinking, okay, I know he took care of those guys really easily. Although I don't know what happened to Ethan Page, now that I think about it. Because I thought he was out there at the beginning, but I don't remember exactly if he got taken down or what happened with Ethan Page. But he hits the first Powerbomb, and I'm thinking, okay, go for the cover. Don't fuck around. Just go for the cover and win the match, right? But no. He's just getting warmed up. And I'm sitting here going, you better get that pin. And he picks him back up, and he gives him a second Powerbomb, and now I'm thinking, don't be a dummy. Okay, now go for the pin. Not good enough. Rolls him back up, hits a third Powerbomb, and then we got 3 after that, as in a 3 count. And just like that, it was just that easy. Wardlow becomes the new TNT champion. They shot off black and gold confetti all over the building as he celebrated. Everybody in the building here in Rochester, New York was so happy to see Wardlow win the TNT title. Let's talk about the match. It wasn't much of a match. It really wasn't. It wasn't very long. There wasn't much to it. The street fight stipulation is what gave them the excuse to allow the Lambert crew to get involved. This wasn't much of a street fight. We saw Scorpio Sky give him a nut shot. We had some interference. That was it. So not much of a match, not much of a street fight, but it was what it had to be. Nobody was waiting for a long technical match between Wardlow and Scorpio Sky. People wanted to see Wardlow go in there, hit a bunch of power bombs, and win the championship. And that's exactly what they gave us. So the match was exactly what the match needed to be. This was not meant to be a 15 to 20 minute mat classic to open the show. And it wasn't. But they gave you exactly what you were looking for. And I'm very happy that they did not go with some sort of swerve or screw job finish. And I believe they already did that once before with Wardlow and Scorpio Sky, but that doesn't mean they couldn't have done it again. Once they added the street fight stipulation, that was my biggest concern, that it was setting up for someone to interfere and, they're going to drag this thing out. It was very clear coming out of Double or Nothing that Wardlow's momentum stalled. It wasn't that the fans got sick of him or turned on him. It was nothing to do with him. It was the booking. Because the first thing that Wardlow did when he came out of Double or Nothing was they went right into that stupid angle with Mark Sterling and the security people, and they were going to sue him. And then we had the 20-on-1, the plaintiffs against Wardlow. And look, it's always fun to see Wardlow powerbomb a bunch of geeks. But it just seemed like there was no direction for him. Like he had reached the peak, which was beating MJF, but they weren't ready to put the championship on him. And they didn't, it seemed like, okay, now what do we do with him, right? And they went right into all the promotion for the Forbidden Door, and he wasn't part of that show. And so it felt like, okay, he's going to continue. He's going to start to lose some momentum here if they don't come up with something for this guy to do. So it was very important for him to go in there tonight and not look like an idiot, not get screwed, not hit powerbomb after powerbomb, but not go for the pin. And then he would look like an even bigger dummy. He got the job done. The babyface went in there. He delivered exactly what he said he would. And he won the championship. And everybody was happy. And again, it was the right outcome. The crowd was fully behind him. He's the one who's over, not Scorpio Sky. Some people are going to be upset. Oh, Scorpio Sky got screwed again. They didn't give him a chance. It was time for Wardlow to become the TNT champion. Scorpio Sky had 2 runs with the TNT title. And I agree, they didn't exactly give him much. But Scorpio Sky wasn't the one who was going to rehab the TNT title. The TNT title suffered greatly during that program with Sammy Guevara and Scorpio Sky and the whole Dan Lambert crew. Really, ever since Miro lost it. So that championship needed to be in the hands of somebody who the people cared about. And so maybe now people will actually get excited when it comes to a TNT title match, a TNT title defense. That was never going to happen with Scorpio Sky. With Wardlow, though, it just might. That wasn't going to happen with Scorpio Sky. So Wardlow's the one who's over right now. He's the one who's white hot. I agree with the finish. It was the right time. It made sense. You got to strike while the iron is hot. You never know. He's hot now, but 2 months from now, maybe people cool on Wardlow. It all boils down to the booking. Wardlow has all the tools. He can talk, right? He's an articulate guy. We see what he can do in the ring, especially for a guy who's got some size on him. He can move around. He can work his ass off. He's got a certain intensity about him. He has all the tools to be a top guy in this company. And I guarantee you, you don't need me to tell you this, but this is his first. This will not be his last championship. This will not be the biggest championship that this guy holds in AEW. This is to Wardlow what the Intercontinental title was to so many people many years ago when the Intercontinental title actually meant something. Of course, today it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. I dropped some food in the kitchen earlier. It slipped right out of my hand. And I dropped it on the floor, right? Made a big mess. That mess on the floor means more than the Intercontinental title does today. So maybe Gunther will turn things around, but I doubt it, right? But what that title used to mean to a Steve Austin or a Shawn Michaels or a Bret Hart when they first held it, that's what this is to Wardlow. It is a stepping stone to what will eventually be something much bigger for him. So tonight he finally got his moment, but again, this is only the beginning. This is not the end for him. In the back, we had Mark Sterling and Tony Nese. They were in the back, and they had a petition. They were trying to get Swerve Strickland removed from the AEW roster, I guess for stabbing people in the back and whatnot. So Keith Lee happens to come walking by, and they asked Keith Lee to sign the petition. Lee said that, we might have some issues, but he's still my partner, and we're still winning, unlike Tony Nese. And he walked off. Christian Cage came to the ring with Luchasaurus Black. I'm going to call him Luchasaurus Black for a promo in the ring. No Tony Schiavone or anything. This time he was just going to hold the mic himself in the ring. Christian called the crowd pieces of crap. He said that they were demanding answers from Luchasaurus just like they demanded answers from him about why he did what he did, why he turned his back on Jungle Boy. They played the Hardy Boys music, and everybody got excited. I think everybody got excited because they thought Jeff Hardy was coming out. They must not pay attention to the headlines. Matt Hardy came out. I wouldn't say that everybody groaned or started booing, but I guarantee you there were a lot of people in the crowd who were like, oh, it's just Matt. So here comes Matt Hardy out, and he called Christian the Michael Jordan of being an asshole. He called Jungle Boy a friend and said that Jungle Boy had trusted Christian before he screwed him over. Christian said that he shouldn't pretend to know Jungle Boy like he did. And then he burned Matt by telling him that he was starting to make his brother sound like the sober one. And as you might imagine, that got quite the reaction in the building. I love how when Christian, he did this when he talked about Jungle Boy and I was like a father figure to him, but I'm not your father. Your father is dead. And it's probably a good thing because that way he doesn't have to see you grovel at my feet. And all the stuff he's been saying these last few weeks, right? Christian's slipping these burns in there, right? And I just love the reaction from Excalibur and Tony Schiavone on commentary. They're so thoroughly disgusted. Every time Christian goes low and he makes a comment like that, you can hear the disgust dripping in their voice. Christian is so great at just being a total dick. That's what makes Christian as a heel so great. That's what made him so great as a heel in WWE. It was the same thing. I mean, he wasn't necessarily doing promos like this, but he was such a prick. And he's so good at that. And now he comes out, he dresses the part, he's out there, he looks like he's fucking Columbo or something walking out there. Everything what he is doing is clicking. And I said at the beginning of the stream, he's become probably my favorite part of the show every week, and he hasn't even wrestled a match. We have not seen Christian wrestle a match yet over these last many weeks. This is all just character work. This is all just promo work. This is him on the mic. So Matt said that he sees what Christian is doing to Luchasaurus and that he is just trying to make money off of him. And he said he wasn't going to be a hypocrite. He acknowledged that he did the same with Private Party, and he did the same with the Butcher and the Blade, or as he called him, the Blaze. Yes, I did pick up on that. Matt did call him the Blaze. And he regrets that. He regrets that he was doing that. He was doing to them what Christian did to Jungle Boy. He said that he wouldn't allow Christian to do the same thing to Luchasaurus. And Christian called Matt a clout chaser, and that he was willing to use anybody around him to stay in the headlines and stay relevant. He said he used his wife, he used his kids, he used his father-in-law. right? We can't forget Senor Hardy over there. Or actually, now it's not Senor Hardy. What did they call Rebby's father when they did the final deletion? I forgot the name that he gave him. It was Senor something. I forgot what he called him. Anyway, he said you use your father-in-law, use a dilapidated boat, and you even overlook your brother's issues just so you could have one more run. And Christian said that his brother wasn't even the biggest embarrassment to his family. Matt was. And Hardy then ate a headbutt from Luchasaurus. They spilled outside. Luchasaurus gave Hardy a boot, booted him right into the ring post, and then chokeslammed Matt through the timekeeper's table. Yes, Senor Benjamin. There it is. I said Senor Hardy, and that didn't really, when I said it, it didn't really sound right. It didn't really say, it was Senor Benjamin. That's right. How could I forget? So, Christian, as I said, is great in this role. I'm not excited, though, about bringing Matt Hardy into things. I'm sorry. I can't get excited for that. My guess is they do one match on TV. Hopefully it's one and done. I don't even think it's Christian against Matt. It's probably Luchasaurus against Matt. And Matt should not be beating Luchasaurus, so I'm kind of hoping it's a one and done type of thing. It does make me wonder, though, how injured is Jungle Boy? Because we know Jungle Boy is legitimately dealing with a shoulder injury, but Tony Khan, AEW, they don't really talk about injuries. They're as secretive, if not more so, than WWE is when it comes to injuries. And I'm not quite sure why everything has to be such a big secret, but from what we understand, Christian has a legitimate shoulder injury. We don't know how severe it is. It could be minor. He could be back on TV in 2 weeks. Maybe it isn't so minor. Maybe what we're seeing here is their way of stalling, until Jungle Boy is ready to make a comeback. We just don't know because, again, AEW hasn't said anything about Jungle Boy being hurt, but that is the word on the street. They aired a few small snippets of that great Matt Menard promo that I'm sure many of you have seen on social media or YouTube by now. From after the Blood and Guts match, he's got all the dried, crusty blood on his face coming out of the match last week. AEW posted it online. They did not air it on TV. And it was long. It was between 3 and 4 minutes. So it was definitely a lengthy video, and they put this dramatic music behind it. It's just basically Matt Menard in the back after the Blood and Guts match, leaning up against the wall, and then he's walking down the hallway, and the camera's following him, and he's just very animated and very passionate, talking about the match and talking about his family and talking about his wife and his son and how he just missed his son's first steps, and he got all emotional, and he said, but this is what we do, this is what we signed up for. But he talked about how in the full video, not what they aired on TV tonight, he talked about how Blood and Guts should never have happened. They got the win at Anarchy in the arena. They had their moment at Double or Nothing. Blood and Guts never should have happened, but they did it for Jericho. Jericho's the one who believed in them and gave them a shot, gave them a chance. And again, this was tremendous stuff, and they didn't really air any of that. They aired 2 very small snippets of that as part of a larger highlights video, set to some music, recapping last week's Blood and Guts match. And we had some comments from Regal and from Angelo Parker and Claudio. We had comments from Ortiz, like a few different people in this video. But, to go back to Menard and Parker, when we talk about all of the great tag teams on this roster, and I do quite often, I praise the tag team division in this company because it really is the strongest tag team division I think that any company has currently in this country, at least. And we talk about the Young Bucks, and we talk about FTR, and we talk about the Lucha Bros, and now they have House of Black and Blackpool Combat Club, and they have even a young team like the Acclaimed, who I'm hoping will go on a run soon now that they're about to get their big babyface run. All these different teams. The one team that doesn't get talked about and I'm guilty of this too. I never bring them up when I talk about the division, is 2.0. It's Matt Menard and Angelo Parker. For those who don't know, those are their real names. Those are the names that they're now using in the Jericho Appreciation Society. I have a few people. Who's Matt Menard? He's the loud one. He's the loud one from 2.0. But we don't talk about 2.0, and they absolutely could be in that mix. Yeah, right now they're kind of Jericho stooges, and maybe they'll fall into the same trap that Santana and Ortiz did, where they were kind of background players almost to Jericho in the inner circle, and they never really broke out on their own. But think about what they were doing before they came to AEW. They were in NXT, and they were doing nothing. They were trying to make something happen. They would do these skits where they had their own little like talk show in the back and stuff. Total comedy. But they weren't doing anything with them. They were on the NXT roster, and people didn't even know they existed. Then they got cut. They got fired. And so Tony Khan picked them up. And I don't know what he picked them up for as far as what he's paying them or anything. But he gave them an opportunity. And I think that they have largely knocked it out of the park. And look at what they have done. Look at the things, the matches that they've been involved in since they came to AEW. They were nothing. They were a nothing team. They were just a non-entity in NXT. Again, people didn't even know they existed while they were there. They come to AEW and they're working with Sting and doing spots with Sting and Darby, and then Jericho recruits them for his new group, right? So now they're in prime position with Jericho, and they're in this big Anarchy in the Arena match, and they're in Blood and Guts, and they're in a featured, in some weeks, main event spot on the show. And a lot of times they're there to be the fall guy. Menard is the one who took the losing fall on top of the cage in Blood and Guts to Claudio. That's kind of their role. But I do think that they, deserve some credit, and they deserve to be mentioned in the mix when you talk about the tag teams that they have in that roster. And you look at the turnaround that they've experienced in their career. Hey, compared to what they were doing before, they're in a pretty good spot right now. But if you didn't see that Matt Menard promo, it is worth going out of your way to check out. But they aired, like I said, comments from the other participants in Blood and Guts as well. This all led to an earlier in the day pre-tape in the back. A backstage interview. Tony Schiavone was standing between Claudio Castagnoli and Jake Hager, who Tony mentioned, both men, signed a waiver for this segment, pledging no physicality for this segment. They're going to have a match on Dynamite next week, but they pledged no physicality right now. And I just love this idea. These two guys are just having a 60-second backstage segment, right? It's all this is. This is a quick 60-second face-to-face backstage segment here on this show. And we see this time and time again on AEW television. These people cannot be trusted to control themselves. That they have to sign a waiver. They have to sign a piece of paper pledging, I will not get physical with the other person. I will control myself. So that's what these two had to do here before the segment. Hager said that Claudio wasn't as tough and as hard as him, and I said pause. And I understand the tough part. I'm not quite sure what he meant by hard. That's a little fucking weird, but okay. So he said Claudio's not as tough or as hard as he is. But he pointed out that Claudio had never won a world championship before. He's never been a world champion in Ring of Honor. He said he was never a world champion in WWE. Unlike him. Of course, Hager was actually a world heavyweight champion and an ECW champion, if you count that. I don't know that most people would. But he said he was a world champion before, and he talked about being undefeated in MMA. Claudio said that he is unbeaten so far in AEW, and rankings matter in this company. He says next week against Hager, he's going to go 3-0. So we're getting the real Americans one-on-one against each other next week on Dynamite. I'm not a big Jake Hager guy. You guys know my thoughts on him. I think he's about as exciting as fucking wet cardboard. He's a good athlete and everything, but he doesn't excite me when I see him on my television. But I think the two of them, as good of a team as they developed into, and as good as Claudio is, I think he'll bring the best out of him. And I actually think the two of them can have a pretty damn good match on TV next week. I'm actually looking forward to seeing what that match is going to look like, because they have worked together before, usually as partners, not usually as adversaries. This is probably the most interested I have been in a Jake Hager match since he has come to AEW. Frankly, I cannot think of another Jake Hager match that I said, oh, I can't wait to see that match. This might be the first time. We had Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland against the Butcher and the Blade with the Bunny. The Bunny was back. I believe the Bunny has been injured. So this was, I think, her first appearance back in some time. The story is that there is tension. There's tension between Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland. They've been teasing it now for weeks, ever since the Battle Royal, when Swerve dumped Lee out of the ring. They've had some miscommunications. They had some miscommunications in this match as well. But they are still winning matches. There was also a miscommunication between Swerve and the Butcher on a leapfrog spot that did not go according to plan. There was another spot late in the match where Keith Lee was late to break up a pin attempt, and the referee held up the count. Anyway, this was not a good match. This was a pretty ugly, especially the first half or, 2/3 of it. I thought a pretty ugly match. This was not a very good match. But Lee and Swerve got the win in the end with their Doomsday Double Stomp combo. After the match, Powerhouse Hobbs and Ricky Starks, they come out. They have a mic in hand. And Hobbs said that he was tired of the disrespect. Starks took the mic. He said he was tired of them asking like there's somebody. Because there's levels to this. Lee and Swerve aren't on their level. Ricky Starks was very animated here in this segment. Ricky Starks he was amped up. He was angry. He was going off in this segment here. I thought he was going to pop a blood vessel in his head. When he mentioned being the best tag team, that brought out the AEW Tag Team Champions, the Young Bucks. That was their cue to come on down. Matt Jackson congratulated them on having good matches lately, and he said that everybody is eating well. And as soon as he said everybody is eating well, I love how they cut back to the ring and they showed Keith Lee. I couldn't pick up on what Lee was saying, but he obviously thought that was directed towards him. I will say that Keith Lee is definitely he's definitely larger than he was when he left WWE. I will say that. But anyway, so they cut to him as soon as he made that comment. But the Bucks told them not to forget about who set the table in the first place. And Nick Jackson said they had a very good match at Double or Nothing. 4.5 stars in the Observer. Was it Double or Nothing or Forbidden Door? But he said 4.5 stars in the Observer. He goes, that's an off night for them. Matt proposed that they go triple or nothing next week on Dynamite for the tag team titles. He laid down the gauntlet to a triple threat match with the Bucks, Lee and Strickland, Starks and Hobbs. And my favorite part, and that's going to be a fucking great match. Okay, let me just say that first and foremost. As soon as they announce that match, I think that match is going to be a fucking great. It's going to be fun. It's going to be impossible for me to keep notes on, but it's going to be a lot of fun next week to see that match. My favorite part of this segment was the Bucks were talking, and they were talking about the greatest tag team, and they got drowned out by a loud chant of FTR that they clearly were not expecting. And it was loud enough and sustained enough that they had to stop and acknowledge it. And they did briefly. They acknowledged it. They played off of it, and then they moved on. But they clearly were not expecting that. So this was a very pro FTR crowd in this building tonight. That's the match. And look, I've been saying it now for how long? How many weeks now have I been saying that? That's the match. It's almost like none of this other stuff matters. The Bucks have to win next week. I think it's going to be a great match. The Bucks have to win next week. The Bucks cannot lose those tag team titles until they get back in the ring for one last match with FTR at All Out in September. That has to be the destination. Has to be. Eddie Kingston made his entrance for an interview with Tony Schiavone in the ring. Eddie first gave congratulations to Wardlow on winning the TNT title and congratulated everybody who was on the winning team at Blood and Guts. Even Claudio, he said. See, I'm maturing, he said. Even thank Claudio. He said Jericho, though, made him a liar because he didn't taste his blood like he said he would, because Jericho didn't bleed, apparently, blood and guts. So Jericho appeared on the video wall, and he was in the back. It looked like he was in the parking lot or the parking garage in the back somewhere. And Jericho forced Kingston to watch. They panned out, and we saw Ruby Soho, who was standing there. They had their SUV was there. The door was open, and Ty Conti slammed the car door on Ruby's arm, and Ruby screamed, and she, shrieked in agony and fell to the ground. And that was the entire segment. This was a very, I thought, pretty lame segment, actually. And again, I don't think they've done enough to establish the friendship or the relationship on TV between Eddie Kingston and Ruby Soho. There was a video package before Blood and Guts, and I think they acknowledged it there, but it was kind of brief. So I look at this and I go, okay, they attacked Ruby. I mean, I thought it was going to be Eddie's wife or girlfriend, or I don't think he's married, but this is Ruby Soho, and I just don't know that they've done enough to establish that relationship for it to mean as much as they think it does. So look, Blood and Guts is over. It's come and gone. They're going to keep doing this thing with Jericho and Kingston, apparently. You had to know that Jericho was going to do something to get his heat back, which is what this was. And so, apparently this feud is going to continue between Jericho and Eddie Kingston. The Dark Order was out next, right? Is this the Dark Order thing? Is that what they do? That's like the Dark Order. I don't know how this became a thing, but apparently that's the Dark Order thing. They were out next, or I should say what's left of the Dark Order, because some of the Dark Order members are no longer under contract in AEW. But we had Evil Uno, John Silver, Alex Reynolds, Preston Vance, and Anna Jay, along with -1. Brody Lee Jr. was out there with them because they were in Rochester, New York, which of course is the hometown of his late father, Mr. Brody Lee. Evil Uno said that he had an important announcement to make, which was that the 6 of them are here to stay. He said the Dark Order is forever. He was about to hand the mic off to Brody Jr. to make some sort of proclamation when all of a sudden QT Marshall comes out. He's got a microphone in his hand. And QT asks how long we have to put up with this charity case, referring to -1. And he told -1 that he wasn't his father. He said that he took after his mother. Meanwhile, -1 is outside. He's being restrained. He's trying to make a beeline for QT Marshall, and they're holding the kid back. And QT said that to -1, he said, "My friends are in the back. You should send your friends away and face me like a man." So QT Marshall now has gone to, well, who did he feud with? I guess it would have been Hook, right? And he lost to Hook. He has gone from that to challenging a 10-year-old child to a match. This is where we are now with QT Marshall here on the show. Hangman Page's music hit. He came out to help the Dark Order clean house on QT, who took a whole bunch of bumps from all the various Dark Order members in the ring. They left him laying. Evil Uno gave the mic to -1, who got on the mic. He was on the apron, leaning into the ring, looking at QT's prone body on the floor. And -1 said that, "I could pin you right now, but I'm going to wait until I'm 18. And they put him on their shoulders and they carried him away. Look, this could have been a dark segment. This could have been a dark segment for the live crowd in the building because they were in Rochester. I know why they did this. I think that's fine. I don't know that this had to be on TV. With all the stuff that they cram into this show, and because I don't think anything is necessarily going to come out of this, I don't know that this had to actually, air on TV. But it was a nice thing for them to do in Brody's hometown. I don't have an issue with them wanting to give the son, a moment, or them wanting to pay tribute to Brody, because he was beloved in that company. And it's tragic what happened to him. And I still maintain that tribute show they did to him is the greatest episode of television that Tony Khan has ever put together. Best episode of Dynamite. As sad and depressing as it was a great piece of business that they put together. So I don't have an issue with them, using -1 here for a segment. But did it have to be on the show tonight? Actually, on TV, probably not. No. And as far as QT Marshall, I saw there was one person. There's always one, right? There was one person on my timeline who said, "Oh, what are they doing with QT? He's being, made fun of here by a child." It's QT Marshall. Who gives a shit? This is why he's used. This is why he's on the show, for stuff like this, to get beaten up by the Dark Order and to be maybe beaten up one day by a 10-year-old kid. It's QT Marshall. Are people really upset about this? They can't possibly be upset about this. I think QT Marshall's own friends and family would probably look at this and point and laugh. Nobody cares. I mean, would you rather an actual star be used in this segment? I mean, come on. It's QT Marshall. Who gives a shit? That's his role. So now we were at the 9 o'clock hour. We were at the midway point of this show. And they introduced Jim Ross for hour 2, which is what I thought they would do. I figured he would be on the show later on. And they introduced him, and he took Tony Schiavone's place on commentary. And I like this, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I like this. I like this because, A, they kept Taz out there. And Taz is great. And it would bother me if they replaced Taz with Jim Ross, because I do like Taz's commentary. I think he works very well with Excalibur. Of course, they've worked together on Dark for a long time, so they've developed a rapport and a chemistry on commentary. But I think Taz is funny. I think Taz is very good on commentary. So I like that they kept him out there. And they really don't need Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone on commentary together. When Dynamite started and they put the two of them together on the announce team, it was a novelty thing. Like, oh, wow, we're going to get Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone, back together on commentary for the first time since the WCW days. We haven't heard them together on commentary since 1990 or 1991, right? So it was a novelty. They really don't need to do commentary together, I think, on weekly television, because they both kind of play the same role. Excalibur is the play-by-play guy. Jim Ross is no longer the play-by-play guy. That's Excalibur's job. Tony Schiavone used to be the play-by-play guy. Unless Mike Tenay was out there, then he would be. And so now they've kind of settled into this elder statesman role, and they kind of play the same function. I don't think they need to be on commentary together. So he took Tony's spot. The other reason I like this is because Jim Ross does not need to be broadcasting full shows anymore. Jim Ross is the greatest announcer in the history of the wrestling business. And Jim Ross would say, no, it's Gordon Soley, and he would be very humble about that. I didn't grow up on Gordon Soley. Maybe my opinion would be different if I had. I didn't even grow up on Jim Ross. I grew up listening to Vince McMahon on commentary, and Gorilla Monsoon, and Jesse Ventura, and Bobby Heenan, and a little bit of Tony Schiavone. I didn't really, become a Jim Ross fan until many years later. Of course, now I can go back and appreciate his work in WCW, and that really was JR at his best. But Jim Ross, so let me just say that, is the greatest of all time to ever do it. But the man is 70 years old. He's been through a lot. Even now, he's still going through health challenges. He posts about it on Twitter sometimes, so I'm sure, he's going through a rough time. But he's also 70 years old. And when he's out there for a full 2-hour show or a 3-hour, 4-hour pay-per-view, he gets tired, he gets cranky, and it comes across that way on television. So I think saving him for the second half of the show, and the same thing on pay-per-view, they did that at Forbidden Door, right? Saving him for half the show or saving him for special matches, I think at this point, that is the best way to use Jim Ross. This is not the Jim Ross of old. He's just not. And again, I think that just comes with age. Everybody gets old. It happens to all of us. And it is not the same Jim Ross on commentary that he was all those many years ago. He does make mistakes. I mean, everybody makes mistakes. He does make mistakes, but it's not even the mistakes. When he's out there, and he does start to lose some steam and he gets tired, it's noticeable. Sometimes he sounds like he doesn't even want to be there. He sounds like he's generally annoyed sometimes. I think it just depends on what his mood is that day. So I think saving him, his energy level is a little more up. I think he is better off, and he comes across better on TV when you save him for the latter part of the show. So I hope that becomes the thing going forward. I think this is the way it needs to be. I think we need more Taz on commentary. Save Jim Ross for those special moments, or again, certain segments. But I think the days of Jim Ross as the full-time commentary guy are over. And I think this is the right role for him to be in now. So we had Penta Oscuro against Rush in Rush's singles debut in AEW. This was added by Tony Khan late in the day. They had a good match, quick pace, hard hitting, and still probably not even close to what the two of them are capable of. If they really took the gloves off and let loose, it almost felt like they were holding back a little bit, even as good as this match was. But I thought Rush looked real good here in his debut. He landed a missile dropkick for 2, followed that up with a senton for another 2 count. Rush called for the bullhorn dropkick, but Penta cut him off, hit the fear factor. Penta covered him, but Andrade placed Rush's foot on the bottom rope. Referee did not see that. Rush then low-blowed Penta and ripped off his mask, ripped it right off his head in the background. We were seeing that in the background. The referee was being distracted in the foreground. But in the background, you can see Rush rip the mask right off his head and rolled him up for the pin. I feel like we've seen this rip the mask off gimmick enough now to where it's just completely overplayed. And maybe it just feels that way to me, and it's really only been 2 times or 3 times, but I don't know. I feel like I've seen this a whole bunch of times already. Didn't we just see this a month ago? I'm almost positive there was a match on Rampage. On one of the weeks, maybe, where Rampage was bumped to a different time slot, maybe. It was about a month ago. We had the Young Bucks and the Lucha Bros. They had a great match on Rampage, and I'm almost positive the same thing happened to Penta in that match. I think they yanked his mask off for the finish. I know that's happened with Rey Fenix. I mean, how many times are they going to go to the same finish? I mean, it just feels overplayed to me. So I was not a fan of the finish of that match. The match itself, though, I thought was very good. I enjoyed the match itself. We got the news, it is now official, for the Ring of Honor pay-per-view on July 23rd, that Jay Lethal is going to challenge Samoa Joe for the Ring of Honor Television Championship. That is Death Before Dishonor coming up in a few weeks. Joe has been out of action. They did a whole injury angle with him many, many weeks ago, but I think he's been filming a role for a movie, I believe. I saw him pop up in a Don West tribute video, because Don West is really going through a rough time right now, dealing with brain cancer, brain lymphoma. He had a recurrence many months ago. He has a GoFundMe page set up. I think they've raised over $60,000 to assist with medical costs. But the last update from Don on the GoFundMe page was in January. And some of the things that I've heard, Jeff Jarrett and people have made comments, it doesn't sound like he's doing very well. So that makes me very sad. But Impact posted this great little 4-minute tribute video. Everybody, all the people that used to work in the company, Frankie Kazarian and Tracy Brooks sent a video in from their home. Who else? Dixie Carter sent a video in. Christopher Daniels, AJ Styles, Christy Hemme, Gail Kim, ODB, all these different people. And Samoa Joe sent one in as well. And he had tears in his eyes. You could tell, like, he was, he's obviously a big Don West fan. And how can you not be? I mean, if you worked with him, or if you watched him, if you got to know him or meet him, and I met him a couple of times, Don is awesome. And when I found out he was sick the first time, it upset me greatly. And then he got into remission, and it was all great news. And then unfortunately, the cancer came back, and he's having a rough go. So I just saw that video earlier today, and Joe, he had a totally shaven head. He has a very odd shaped head, Samoa Joe. I will say this: if you watch that Impact video, watch that video And when you see Samoa Joe, he looks a little odd with the shaved head. But anyway, it was a nice thing for him to do. So it is official for Death Before Dishonor, though. He will defend the ROH TV title against Jay Lethal. We had some comments here from Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, and Satnam Singh in the back. And they were very happy and said that they will take the championship from Samoa Joe. We had another backstage segment with Mark Sterling and Tony Nese. They were in the back looking for more signatures on their petition to get their wish, which is have Swerve Scott fired or Swerve Strickland. I'm sorry. I'm still thinking that he's in NXT. Or how long did he spend on the main roster? 2 weeks? Yeah, Beowulf, that's what it is. When I saw Joe's, he's got these like dents in his head, right? His head is just a very odd shape. I can't be the only one who thinks that when they see that clip. Very I don't know if that's from injuries or if that's just the shape of his head, but it's very, very weird. Anyway, they were looking for more signatures, and they ran into best friends. It was Trent, it was Chuck, it was Orange Cassidy. They were all wearing tie-dye, standing around in the back. And they were trying to get their signatures, and they refused to sign. So Tony Nese got up in Orange Cassidy's face. And Danhausen came in. He was the lawyer for best friend. Here's the thing about Danhausen, okay? And again, I said this about Orange Cassidy and the Forbidden Door thing when people were debating about how good the match was with him and Will Ospreay, and it was easily the match of the night. But if you don't get the gimmick, if you don't get them, right, I understand that. But you cannot deny how over they both are. Whenever Danhausen appears on screen, even in a backstage segment, just when he shows up, there is a pop from the live crowd. They react to this guy. I don't even know what it is, but they react to him. So as soon as he walked into camera frame in this segment, everybody reacted huge to Danhausen. But nothing really happened in this segment other than they set up a match for Rampage between Tony Nese and Orange Cassidy. We had the Acclaimed and the Gun Club against Bear Country, Leon Ruff, and Fuego del Sol. What a winning combo this is, right? I was gonna say trio, but they're 4 people instead of 3. So what would you call that? They're not a duo, and they're not a trio. I guess they would be a quartet. What a lousy quartet! Bear Country, Leon Ruff, and Fuego del Sol. You know how they say that if you're gonna go into war, you want somebody in that foxhole with you, like. That's the guy that I want in the foxhole with me, right? I don't want any of these 4 in the foxhole. I'll jump into the foxhole by myself, and I'll take my chances. So the Acclaim's music hits, and they get a big reaction, because now anytime the Acclaimed come out, everyone's waiting for that Max Caster rap. So they hit the music, and here comes Max Caster, and he's got a microphone in his hand. And right before he can start his rap, Austin Gunn rips the mic out of his hand. And that's just something you don't do. You don't interrupt Max Caster when he's about to rap, and the boos rain down upon the Gun Club. These people were not happy that he cut off Max Caster, and we did not get a Max Caster rap here tonight. The Acclaimed and the Gun Club, they struggled to get on the same page and work together. Eventually, though, Caster did hit the mic drop, elbow off the top. But when he was on top, Austin Gunn blind tagged himself in. So after he hit the mic drop, he went for the pin, and Aubrey Edwards said, nope, you're not the legal guy. And so Austin Gunn came into the ring, and he stole the pin to win the match for their team. After the match, the Acclaimed, they were upset with the Ass Boys, and they were arguing. Billy Gunn tried to break it up. Now remember, Billy Gunn has been taking the side of the Acclaimed over his own sons. And so it was all to build to this moment here. Billy Gunn tries to break them all up and, calm things down a little bit. And all of a sudden he turns around and he levels Max Caster with a clothesline. He lowers the boom on Max Caster. It was all Swerve. Of course, he was with his own flesh and blood this entire time. And Anthony Bowen struggled to his feet, and he couldn't believe what he saw. He wanted Billy Gunn to scissor him, daddy. And instead, Billy Gunn gave him the famouser and left him laying. I'm sad that it's over. I grew to enjoy the whole act with the Acclaimed and the Gun Club. They kind of won me over, and they were over with the audience too. So now that it's over, I am kind of sad. I'm not going to lie, but this was inevitable. Once Anthony Bowens was cleared and healed up from his knee injury and was out of the wheelchair, it was only a matter of time before they split them and then feuded them, which is what they're going to do now. And now the Acclaimed are on the path to a proper babyface run. And what they need to start doing is winning tag team matches on their own, because before Bowens got hurt, whether it was an Acclaimed tag team match or a singles match, and we saw Bowens more than Caster having a lot of singles matches before he got hurt, they lose a lot. They lose most of their matches. So if they're going to get a proper babyface run, it has to mean more wins. And they're one of those young teams on the roster who have made a connection with the crowd. They're over, they're popular, people like them. They get a reaction when they come out. But they have to start winning. You can groom them for a tag team title match at some point. So when the Bucks and FTR, they inevitably have their rematch, and hopefully FTR wins. Although I guess if the Acclaimed are baby faces, it might make more sense for the Bucks to win. But whoever wins, once we get past that, I think the Acclaimed have to eventually, whether it's later this year, early next year, they should get their moment and they should win those tag team titles. It's not going to happen soon in the near term, but I definitely think that this is an overdue run. I think that the time is right to start really building them up. I mean, they're nowhere close to getting a tag team title shot. Again, they have to start winning, but they're the team that I would push. I don't know what's going on with Private Party. I have no idea. We haven't seen Private Party in months, it feels like. So I don't know what their status is, but the Acclaimed are definitely, I think, due for a babyface tag team push. We had a very interesting video package here, a promo that aired from Miro. And it was showing highlights of Miro and Malachi Black, and he was calling out Malachi Black. Now, Miro, as far as we know, is still a heel. Malachi is a heel, so that kind of made it interesting. I was not expecting Miro to be going after the House of Black, and that is exactly what he was teasing here in this video. And he said that Malachi was someone who preyed on the flawed. That doesn't work on him, though, because he is flawless. So we're going to get a Malachi Black Miro feud. Even if it is heel against heel, I like it. It does make me wonder if Miro is going to be more of a tweener than just a straight heel. Because the fans have been cheering him since he came back. They love Miro. I was not expecting that to be the direction that they would go in. But the fact that he's challenging Malachi specifically, I'm all for more singles matches for Malachi Black. So I love it. If that's the direction they're going to go in, I love it. I think it's great. We had the debut of a brand new team here in AEW. Teaming for the first time. Thunderstorm, the team of Toni Storm and the AEW Women's Champion Thunder Rosa, taking on Nyla Rose and Marina Shafir. Nyla brought an umbrella to the ring like she was Mary fucking Poppins. Because get it? Thunderstorm. So let's bring an umbrella down to the ring. So she brought an umbrella down to the ring. Storm got the upper hand on Shafir right away. That led to her and Rosa dominating. They were making frequent tags. They were working pretty well together for their first time teaming up. Nyla only got into the match after she whacked Storm in the back with the umbrella when Storm hit the ropes. They went to a commercial. When they came back from the ad break, Rosa got the hot dog Rosa got the hot tag. Well, I still got dinner on the brain. So she got the hot tag. And Rosa brought it to Nyla, chops, forearms. Nyla cut her off, hit a Uranage before tagging in Shafir, who hit a pump handle suplex for 2. Storm cut Rosa off with a DDT and destroyed Shafir with the hip attack in the corner. Just wrecked her with it. And Thunderstorm hit a combo Fire Thunder driver for the win. A spike Fire Thunder driver for the win. Probably the best Marina Shafir match that I've seen in AEW, and that is only because it was a tag team match. And so she didn't have to carry the load, and she had a partner who could tag into the match. But Rosa and Storm, I think they work well together. And if they don't already have merch up on AEW Shop or Shop AEW, whatever the website is, if they don't already have Thunderstorm t-shirts and merch up, then they're crazy. But I thought they work well together, and I like that finish. I like that spike Fire Thunder driver finish. It looked great. It looked brutal. I liked it. Backstage. Hey, shout out to Steve. Steve Heredia. What's going on, Steve? Steve just subbed to the channel, which you should do also, by the way, if you are not already subscribed to the channel. We are now over 69,000. So I thank all of you for the 69 love. But now we gotta march to 70K. So I need you to sub to the channel. Backstage, Stokely Hathaway was shown with Jade Cargill and Kiera Hogan. And Jade wanted to know what the hell that was all about last week. She was all over Hathaway. And Stokely said if AEW can have an interim champion, that they can have an interim baddie. And he brought in Layla Gray, who was the opponent for Jade Cargill last week. And then Layla ended up helping them. And the reason is because he said he offered Layla $1,100. Said he brought her into the group. And she showed up. Here's Layla Gray. And she puts her hand out, and Kiera Hogan doesn't want to shake her hand. And Jade doesn't want to shake her hand. Jade said that if she doesn't work out, then it's Stokely's ass. So they announced Wheeler Yuta against Daniel Garcia for the Ring of Honor Pure title for the Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view. We got a promo from Daniel Garcia. And then we got a backstage promo from FTR. Draped in gold. They had the ROH tag team titles, and they had the IWGP tag team titles as well. And they challenged the Briscoes to one more match to prove who the best team truly is. Cash Wheeler said that no match had ever taken as much out of them as their match at Supercard of Honor. Death Before Dishonor is coming up, and there are still some who don't believe that we are the best team in the world. And so they challenged the Briscoes to one more match. All of a sudden, that makes that Ring of Honor pay-per-view a lot more interesting. We now know 3 matches, I believe, although the Briscoes, I guess, have not actually accepted yet. But let's assume the match is going to happen. It's a formality. So we've got Samoa Joe and Jay Lethal. We've got Wheeler Yuta and Daniel Garcia. And we've got the Briscoes and FTR. Considering the fact that the Briscoes and FTR had what may end up being the match of the fucking year at Supercard of Honor, I would say if part 2 is anywhere close to the quality of part 1, that alone will make that pay-per-view worth the price of admission. So all of a sudden, this Ring of Honor card is shaping up to be very interesting. And we shall see as we get closer as far as potentially covering the show. Main event was Jon Moxley against Brody King of the House of Black for the Interim AEW World Championship. Brody King, of course, was the winner of the first ever Royal Rampage last Friday, the big Battle Royal, 2-ring Battle Royal. Brody was dishing out punishment early on here. This dude is like a wild beast out there. And he sent Moxley to the floor, whipped him into the barricade. Moxley tried to fight back, but King was able to back body drop him, and the very edge of Moxley's back landed on the metal ramp, and that looked like it sucked. And all of a sudden, it led to a whole discussion of William Regal on commentary talking about how, you know, when he injured his coccyx, is it the coccyx bone? Is that what it is? I almost said cock. That would hurt, I would think, if he hurt his cock. But the coccyx, I believe, is the, and maybe it's your tailbone. That might be the medical term for it. I don't know. So back in the ring, Moxley got Brody off his feet, put a figure 4 leg lock on him, continued to target King's left leg until Brody popped up, caught Moxley with a boss man slam, heading into the final picture-in-picture break on this show. Or black hole slam, I guess, if you're an Abyss fan. I kind of look at Brody King here in this match. He's like a more athletic Abyss. Abyss was not overly athletic, right? Brody King is like a more athletic version of Abyss, I feel like. They got kind of the same body type, big guy, brawler, using his move. Coming out of the break, Brody missed the cannonball senton that he does in the corner, and Moxley followed that up with a big superplex off the top rope. He tried to lock in the Bulldog choke, but King got out of it. Mox caught him with a release dragon suplex and tried for the pin, but King kicked out. They got in a slugfest that ended with King taking him down with a lariat, and he hit a pile driver to Moxley. Moxley kicked out. There was a sleeper in the corner. So if you remember the way that Brody won the Battle Royal last week, he had Darby Allin on the apron, and he locked him in a sleeper hold, and he picked him up, and Darby is just dangling, and then he let him go, and he fell to the floor. That's how he won the match. So he did the same thing, or similar thing, here to Moxley, where Brody was on the middle rope, and he applied the sleeper hold in the ring to Moxley, and he had him up, picked him up, and Moxley's legs are just dangling, and we're just waiting for him to go out. Before Moxley goes out, though, he releases the hold and drops him, and Moxley now is down in the corner. And King set up, and this time he did hit the cannonball senton in the corner. This is where Jim Ross called Brody King Brody Lee, and Excalibur swiftly corrected him. And this has become one of my favorite pastimes. Whenever Jim Ross fucks up and makes a mistake and misspeaks, Excalibur is there to correct him, but he's doing it in a way where he's trying not to offend him or piss him off. He's thinking, how can I want to correct him, but I don't want to offend him and make it feel like I'm pointing out the fact that he fucked up. It's become my favorite pastime to kind of pick out those moments where Excalibur has to try to fix the little faux pas there. So Moxley came back. He hit the paradigm shift out of nowhere. Hammer and anvil and elbows by Moxley. He locks on the Bulldog choke on Brody's back, and Brody just falls backwards to break the hold. But then Moxley quickly reapplies the hold. He locks him back in the choke. Got the full choke applied this time. Belly button to the sky. He's wrenching back. The camera zooms in on Brody King's face, and his eyes are going. He's fading, and Paul Turner calls for the stoppage, and Moxley retains his interim AEW championship. They went 1 minute. The whole main event, Taz is screaming on commentary because Tony Khan is probably in his ear. We're going as long as it takes. If we go past the hour, we're going to go past the hour. Don't you worry. Jim Ross is talking about DVR and all this other stuff. They went 1 minute past the hour. So all that, they went off the air at 10:01. By my watch, they went off at 10:01. And they cut off JR in mid-sentence going into American Dad. I like that main event a lot. I like that main event. Brody King is a beast. He had no chance of winning. I mean, that was never in doubt. But I thought it was a good showcase for him, and he was a good monster challenger for Moxley to overcome. First title defense, and I thought he was the right kind of opponent who could go in there and give Moxley what felt like a real fucking fight, but then in the end, Moxley, pulls out the win and puts the guy out with the choke. So I like that. And really, it's all about waiting now for CM Punk. When is CM Punk ready to come back? And when he is, we will get champion against champion, Moxley against Punk for the first time in an AEW ring. Now, when the show went off the air, according to Brandon Thurston and some of you who sent me a message online, when Dynamite went off the air, Malachi Black came out to join Brody King, and they were confronted on the ramp by Sting and Darby Allin. So that's very interesting. That's a sign potentially of a match that maybe we will get on TV sometime in the next few weeks, or maybe a storyline direction. Again, it looks like we're going to get something with Miro and Malachi Black, but very interesting that Sting and Darby would come face to face with the House of Black. Could be a sign of things to come. Remember, Darby got eliminated from the Battle Royal by Brody King, so maybe Darby wants revenge. I don't know. But that is something to watch out for. That did not air on TV. That happened as soon as they went off the air. So let's run down this card here for Rampage coming up on Friday. Eddie Kingston goes one-on-one with Konosuke Takeshita. I enjoy watching Takeshita. So it's always good to see him on TV. Serena Deeb and Mercedes Martinez are going to be in tag team action. That's probably going to end up being the fourth match on that Ring of Honor pay-per-view, would be my guess. Probably the two of them for the Ring of Honor women's title. Jonathan Gresham, the Ring of Honor World Champion, is going to team up with Lee Moriarty against the Gates of Agony from Tully Blanchard Enterprises. And Orange Cassidy goes one-on-one with Tony Nese. Next week is the Fyter Fest episode, or at least night one of Fyter Fest. On Dynamite, we have the triple threat for the AEW Tag Team titles, the Young Bucks, Team Taz, and the team of Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland. And Claudio goes one-on-one with Jake Hager. And so that is the current lineup for next week. Let's check the Twitter poll, which is right around 70, roughly 70%. 69, look at that. We got 69K on the channel, and we got 69% of you giving a thumbs up to Dynamite. 19% thumbs in the middle, and 11.6% thumbs down. You can vote at Solomonster on Twitter. What is a Tully Blanchard Enterprise? Well, if you didn't see Super Card of Honor in April, then you wouldn't know. That's part of the problem I've had with the way that they've treated Ring of Honor so far, is they kind of expect that people are going to know what it is, and I don't think they've done a very good job of establishing that, but in any event, I thought this was a serviceable episode of Dynamite, not their strongest episode, but there was enough on there that I did enjoy, including that main event. And Wardlow is the TNT champion. We'll see who he feuds with next. Does he just keep on feuding with American Top Team? Who is the next challenger for Wardlow? Wardlow now is the champion. Now he's got to defend. Who do you put him in the ring with? Who does he challenge next? Does Ethan Page now go after the TNT title? You know, do they completely get away from that? Do we have Wardlow facing a member of the House of Black or, some other faction in the company? I have no idea. I have no idea what their plans are for him, but we're going to find out shortly. Let's check out your Super Chats. If you have one to send on in, get it on in. Because when we are done here, we are going to get out of here. And again, I appreciate all of your support. Scott Woodford on the watch-along earlier today dropped a little bit of Super Chat love, so thank you to Scott for hanging out with us earlier this afternoon. By the way, for the people asking about the All-Atlantic title, Tony Khan has said that it is going to be a traveling championship, and Pac is already, he's back, I guess, overseas. And Pac already has 2 Atlantic title defenses lined up. One with Shota Umino at a Rev Pro show. And I don't remember who the other challenger is, but he's already got 2 challengers lined up. So I guess that's how the championship is going to be mostly used. It's going to be a traveling title. Joseph Brooks, if you were ever to book the dream match of Stone Cold Steve Austin against Hulk Hogan, what prime year of Austin and prime year of Hogan would you pick for both? And who wins? Well, I already booked the match. I laid it all out on the podcast actually a few weeks ago, but I don't remember what the episode was. What would be the peak year for each? I would say it would have to be 86 or 87 Hogan. I would say 86 Hogan against, man, it's tough. If you're going by popularity, how do you not go in 98 Austin? But Austin as a worker, I would go in 96 Austin. So it really depends on what you're asking. Are you asking for just peak popularity or just kind of general peak, what would make for the best match? Because I would probably go with 86 Hogan, 96 Austin. I think that would get you the best match. As far as who wins and who goes over, it's Austin. Austin goes over. Lakers Pats won. Cover Flair's last match. I might. We'll see. We'll see. We got the Ring of Honor show, and then we have, obviously, SummerSlam I'll be covering. Ring of Honor show, maybe. Flair's thing is the day after SummerSlam, I believe, right? I think it's on the 31st. They're putting together a full card. So different promotions are sending different matches. It's not just like the Flair match. We don't even know what the Flair match is going to be. My guess is it's going to have something to do with Jay Lethal. I think Lethal will be involved in some way, whether it's a single or a tag team match. But it's funny, this whole Ric Flair last match show, and the one match we still don't know is Ric Flair's match. We still have no idea what it is. But they're putting together a full card for it, so I would consider it. Dick the Cock Johnson, what's going on, brother? $4.99 super chat. The Fight TV feed showed Sting and Darby appearing and staring down House of Black after the main event. That's what I just talked about. Vontel, Montez against Carmelo Hayes will be a dream match at WrestleMania. Anti-Ambitious 07 Solomonster, congrats to Wardlow. Hashtag FTR All Out 2022. Temjin Zephyr, Miro and Black feud would be something I would look forward to. Speaking of which, what do you think was the best heel versus heel feud in wrestling? I don't know, because there haven't been that many of them that I can remember that really stood out to me. I don't know. Off the top of my head, heel versus heel feud? I'm trying to think. When the Shield feuded with the Wyatt family, I don't think the Shield were babyfaces yet. Now, the crowd took to them as babyfaces, but I don't know that they actually went babyface until after that WrestleMania. I think it was the night after. So I would go with the Shield and the Wyatt family. In that case, that was technically heel versus heel, I think, when they had that first match. Actually, when they had all their matches, I think the Shield was technically still heel. So that would get my vote. Rodimus Prime with the $10 super chat. Wardlow as the new TNT champion. I'm here for all of it. Congrats. Thank you, Rodimus. C. Moonsalt, dear Solo Bobster, would you want to see Jim Cornette make a one-time appearance in AEW to manage FTR against the Young Bucks, tennis racket, and all? It's not going to happen, so it's almost pointless to even talk about it. Would I like to see it? Yes, just for the sheer amount of heat that he would get from that AEW audience. It would be great to see. I think it'd make for great TV, but there's more of a chance of me coming in to manage FTR for a match against the Bucks than there is Cornette coming in to do it. Shin Akuma, I consider Survivor Series 2002 one of the greatest pay-per-views. Every championship changed hands that night. It was a great Elimination Chamber match. That was the very first one that night, right? Spanish Goddish, long time no see. I haven't been watching wrestling, but hey, the Warriors won the champion. The Coug 97, El Toro Blanco, Rush versus Penta El Cero Miedo. Tony Khan loves El Coug. I've been calling for this match for more than a year. I am in Lucha Heaven. Spicy dried chicken without flavor. I would love to see heel wrestlers from AEW and WWE to place a bet with each other who can piss the crowds off the loudest with the booker's approval. Well, that's very unfair because there's going to be more handcuffs on the WWE heels than the AEW heels. So it's not really a fair fight. Rob Maletta, every time I hear you say JR is the best ever, I just LOL. I just don't get it. I never liked him. Always been annoying to me. He needs to retire. Wow. So Rob was never a Jim Ross fan. He doesn't get Jim Ross. He doesn't like Jim Ross. But then he didn't offer his opinion as to who is the best. You got to tell me who you think is the best. If not JR, then who? If you tell me Michael Cole, I'm going to block you from the chat. Fawzin with the $3 super chat. People should realize by now that the QT and QT Marshall stands for quality trainer, not quality television. Who cares if he always gets beat up on TV? Well, if he's going to be a quality trainer, he can train off TV. I mean, look, he plays his part fine. He's the guy who's supposed to go out there and be made fun of and get beat up, and I have no issue with that. Food Hive at work, missing the stream and the chat. Hope everybody is having a great week. Says, I'm missing Sound Off Gamer. Tell us something good, bro. I actually have great news. It's funny you mention that. I actually have I have great news on the Sound Off Gamer front. You'll be happy to know I have finally won the Royal Rumble. There's the Jericho. That's right. Perfect timing. I have won the Royal Rumble. Hey, Hunty. Thank you for the sub. I have finally won the Royal Rumble. I cannot tell you how many Rumbles I rumbled to get to that point, but it finally happened last night. I got all the way to the end of the Royal Rumble. It came down to the Solomonster and Shinsuke Nakamura. And we went at it toe-to-toe, and I knocked him out of the ring. I did not get any of this on film. This is going to go down as one of the great holy grails of wrestling that just was not recorded. It's not filmed. There's no fan cam video of it. You will never, ever see it. But it did happen. It was like a house show Rumble. But Solomonster did finally win the Royal Rumble, which means that I can now move on in my Rise mode. So Sound Off Gamer will be coming back. Sometime in the next few days, I will hopefully get back into it, and we can finally move on in the story of Solomonster's career. I'm very excited. I can't tell you how frustrating that was. I won the Royal Rumble like Pat Patterson won that tournament in Rio de Janeiro. Food Hive also says, surprise, 3 words, Solomonster chicken sandwich. Turtlehead, what if MJF was injured and this is all an angle to keep people hating him when he comes back? It would somewhat explain the Wardlow squash. I don't know, if the guy was hurt, he took 10 power bombs in a match. I wouldn't be taking 10 power bombs if I was injured. So no, I don't think it's an injury. Could there be something personal going on? He needed time off anyway. It's always possible. It could be the cover for some other reason, but I don't think it's that at all. I just think they have some kind of angle in mind. Maybe they're waiting until Punk comes back and Punk beats Moxley, and then maybe the night that Punk wins and beats Moxley to become the undisputed AEW champion, here comes MJF out of the crowd. He attacks CM Punk. And they begin the march to the inevitable CM Punk MJF match where he wins the title. I mean, nobody knows. The only people who know what's going on are Tony Khan and MJF. I don't think MJF is hurt. I think they have a plan in mind, but boy, you know, MJF was the hottest thing in wrestling, and he's gone from the hottest thing in wrestling to just nothing, just ice cold. So whatever it is, I hope they have a really good plan in mind. Food Hive wants to know, just tell me how you like your sandwiches. My sandwiches. Well, when I would get a Subway sandwich, and I don't think I've had a Subway sandwich in a year, but I like mine lightly toasted. You know what I miss? And I can't find them around here anymore, at least here in New York. Quiznos. I always liked Quiznos more than even Subway. And I used to watch, it would go through the whole thing, and it would be, you know, they put the sandwich through the toaster and everything, and you get the black ends on the bread and everything. And I always thought Quiznos sandwiches were the shit, man. They were the best. And now you can barely find any of them around here anymore. I haven't had a Quiznos sandwich in years. I gotta find me a Quiznos. HBKC83, my younger cousin recently came across Lucha Underground on YouTube. What is the match that you recommend that he watch? I believe it was season 1. Grave Consequences. The first ever Grave Consequences match with Mil Muertes and Rey Fenix. It's their version of a casket match. Best casket match that I've ever seen. They did a casket match better than any WWE casket match that The Undertaker ever had. So if I had to pick just one match to recommend that you go back and watch, I believe it was from season 1. Again, Grave Consequences, Mil Muertes, and Rey Fenix. That's the match you got to go watch. Dr. Scorpio, did you point at the WrestleMania sign? I did not point at the WrestleMania sign. I made it a point not to point. I did not. I actually mooned the WrestleMania sign. Again, you will never see footage of any of this, but I guarantee you it happened. I pulled my pants down and I mooned the WrestleMania sign. I was not going. I pointed at it. I guess technically you could say I pointed at it with my ass. But no, I did not climb on the ropes and go, oh, the WrestleMania sign. No. Solomonster does not point to the WrestleMania sign. Mad King 1984. When is Takashita going to do a House of Glory? Oh, you mean Takeshita? When is Takeshita going to do a House of Glory show? Hey, he's welcome anytime. Anytime he wants to come on in, I would be more than happy. It would be an honor for me to call a Takeshita match at a House of Glory show. And actually, I believe this Friday, tickets go on sale for the biggest House of Glory show of all time. Our biggest show of the year is High Intensity, and we are bringing it to Terminal 5 in New York City. First time in Manhattan, the same building Ring of Honor has run for many shows in the past. It's going to be huge. That's coming up next month on Sunday. Sunday, August 28th on pay-per-view. House of Glory High Intensity. Tickets go on sale this Friday. I hope to see you there. I missed the last Hog show because of this COVID crap. I'm not missing this one. So that's going to be fun. Hey, if he's free, August 28th, would love to have him. Would love to have him at Terminal 5. And Clapstick with the $4.99. If Perfect, Rude, Bossman, and Owen were still alive today, are they still wrestling or what are they doing? Rude is not wrestling. Perfect, I think, is doing kind of the odd Legends cameo, maybe in the ring here and there. Bossman is doing the same thing, and I think Owen was 34 when he died. And so now he would be in his late 50s. I don't think Owen would be wrestling. But I think Bossman and Perfect would still be making the occasional appearance. I guess Perfect also would be late 50s or early 60s at this point. But I can't imagine Rude, with the bad back and everything, even if he would have made a comeback, which he was trying to do at the time he passed away, I can't imagine he would still be working in 2022. I can't see that. Yeah, I think Rude would have been long retired by now. Owen never struck me as somebody who I think, I think he would have been more than content to just kind of, like Rick Martel, know when the time is right to get out and be very content with the career that he had and just live out the rest of his days with his wife and, find something else to do that he has a passion for. I could see Owen opening up a wrestling school, and like his father, training people and doing something like that. And what a great person to learn the business from, huh? Owen Hart would have been I think he would have been a hell of a trainer. Who do we got here? Who is this? Emiliana with the $4.99. Haven't watched a stream in a while. Glad to hear that you sound much better. Nobody is more happy than me. The way I sounded on that SmackDown stream 2 weeks ago, I sounded like I was near death. I felt like it too. But thankfully, I am doing much better, and I am proud to say that as of this morning, I am officially COVID-free. So, yay! Believe it, I was still testing positive as late as yesterday. It was about 2 weeks. But we are finally negative. We had -1 on Dynamite tonight. Now we have negative Solomonster. Lance Archer. I'm not sure if Lance Archer is actually under a full-time contract anymore with AEW. I don't know if he is or not. Could be per appearance. But is he leaving AEW? No, I have not heard anything like that. I have not heard anything like that. And the only reason Jake Roberts was not with him on TV a few weeks ago or at Forbidden Door is because Jake had surgery. I think it was it his bladder? It might have been like bladder surgery or something, but he had some kind of surgery. So that's why Jake wasn't there with him. Jake's also under contract, and Jake is still around. All right, let's be the booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
It is time to be the booker. You guys know the drill here. We start out here with the men, get things going, book some random matches, and see what we come up with. We begin with Hollywood Hulk Hogan wearing the NWO shirt. You know who else is wearing the NWO shirt? Me. I literally have an NWO shirt on as we speak. How about that? But there he is, the only man in history to carry a company and to carry a boom period as a babyface and then do it again as a heel. Whatever you think of Hulk Hogan as a person, as a human being, you cannot deny the success and the box office that this guy did. And not only did he do it as a babyface and a heel, he did it in 2 different companies. He did it in WWE and he did it in WCW. That is very impressive. Nobody I could think of has done that. So Hollywood Hulk Hogan doesn't really get much bigger than that. Let's see who Hogan is going to be stepping into the ring with. Hogan is going to go one-on-one. Oh, look at this. Look at this. It's his buddy, Eric Bischoff. You see all that black goo on Eric Bischoff in this photo? That's the black goo from when he exploded. That's that NWO black goo. He was so excited to step into the ring with his buddy Hogan, he jizzed all over the place and it came out black. It came out the NWO colors. That's how excited Bischoff was. Hulk Hogan against Eric Bischoff. 2 peas in a pod. But they sure did a lot of good for TNA, didn't they? Let's try the ladies be the booker here. We begin with Nikki ASH. It's already a loser. Already a loser. But I'll pick an opponent for her anyway. Nobody can save this. Nikki ASH taking on Gail Kim. And look, Gail Kim was a great wrestler, but no, that's a fail. That is a fail for a match. I'm sorry. Let's move on to tag teams. We got Public Enemy. Look at this. We got the Public Enemy. Rocco Rock. There he is, right there. Johnny Grunge and Rocco Rock. Remember what Public Enemy used to do, right? Remember Public Enemy when they would come out, right? Everybody was waving for Public. See, you thought I was lying. I got the NWO shirt. Public Enemy would come out and they would do this, right? When they would come out. That was Public Enemy.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be
I
the
switched
booker.
away from the slide. Now the intro is back on. So anyway, we got Public Enemy. Let's see who their opponent is going to be. segment so great I had to give it 2 intros. One wasn't enough. Public Enemy going to take on Kane and The Big Show. That's a lame match. Not really a fan of that match. Don't think the match would be very good. So that's a no for me. So I think we had, was it all buzzer? I think it was. I think we had a straight 0 for 3 sweep here this week and Be the Booker. 3 terrible matches that we booked. By the way, you know, if Public Enemy, if that were in WWE and they did Public Enemy against Kane and Big Show, I mean, they would get jobbed out so hard. Public Enemy would get fucking buried. They would get buried even worse than they were buried the first time they came into the company. That would not end well for them. Man, we did not have a good week and Be the Booker. Chris Manson, thank you for the $2. What do I think the end game is with MJF? I think the end game is he's going to come back and he's going to win the AEW World title. That's what I think the end game is. As far as when and where and how, I guess that's part of the fun, right? We get to wait and see. But I do believe that he and Tony Khan have a plan, and when they see fit to execute that plan, they will. But that's not going to happen until CM Punk is back. So we're not going to see MJF back on TV until after Punk has already made his return. And we don't even know when Punk is going to be back. It could be months. So, but I think the end game is MJF is still going to be the AEW World Champion when all is said and done. Food Hive, with the $1.99. Do you like spicy food? No, I don't. It makes my eyes bug out of my head. Not a fan of spicy food. If I go to Popeyes, if I get chicken, I always make sure I get mild, not spicy. And every now and then they'll slip a spicy wing or they'll slip a spicy, drumstick in there. And I'm sitting there and I'm eating my box and I got my biscuit and I'm on heaven, right? I'm on cloud 9 because Popeye's chicken is the fucking best. So I'm sitting there and I'm enjoying, and they slip it in there and I take a bite and all of a sudden everything stops. And again, you could see steam coming out of my ears and it ruins everything because the taste is so overwhelming. Spice is so overwhelming. It ruins everything. It ruins the whole experience for me. They always stick it in there. I mentioned Subway a little while ago. Let me tell you one of my other pet peeves. So I would get when I was still, working in the city, I would go to the Subway that was right around the corner. They had a Subway sandwich shop. And I would go and I would wait in line, dutifully wait in line until it was my turn, right? And then I would say, okay, I got my flatbread sandwich and I'd get whatever, ham or turkey or whatever it would be. And I would always say, because they would start putting things in there without even asking. I'm like, oh, no, I don't need that. I don't need lettuce. I don't need, they put peppers in. Like, no, I don't want peppers. No peppers. No, thank you. Right? But they would always slip in a hot pepper. It's like they couldn't help themselves. So I'd get back to my desk. I sit down. I'm ready to, I'm biting into the sandwich. I may as well have bitten into the sandwich and found a fucking roach, okay? Because the moment I bit into that pepper, it was all over. It ruined the whole sandwich. It overwhelmed my palate. And they would always do this. So every time they would make the sandwich, I'd have to watch, I'd have laser beams for eyes, and I'd have to really pay very close attention to what they were doing, because if they slipped that hot pepper in there, it was all over. It was all over. One of the things I don't miss about getting a Subway sandwich. Always slipping in those hot peppers. Food Hive says, I created a Solomonster food ran. My night is made. Oh, food rant. I didn't know what you were saying there. Yeah, that's my food rant for the night. A roach? Yeah, well, it's New York City, so yeah, occasionally you would find weird shit in your food. I never found a roach. I did find a bug. I did find half a dead bug because the other half ended up in my fucking mouth, but we won't get into that story. Arby's. I've never had Arby's. We have Arby's around, but Arby's, Sonic, They have them here in New York. I can't say I've ever had Arby's or I had Blimpies. Blimpies used to be a thing. Lakers Pats. No, I saw it. I didn't say I'd read it out loud. I said I will read your super chats. I read it. I saw it. Don't worry about it. Fawaz, look at this. Dropping a $22 super chat. Hey, Solomonster, how are you doing? It's been a long time. Been so busy with my university, but I have some good news. I graduated from university. It's been a good year. Looking forward to November. A little tease there for the next Saudi Arabia show. Well, congratulations to Fawaz on your graduation. That's very cool. All the best to you, my friend. It's always good to hear from Fawaz. Have I ever had Portillo's? I don't even know what that is. So no, I have not had Portillo's. Now, it was not a rat. There was no rat in a sandwich. Although we have rats in New York that are about as big as a Subway sandwich. But no, I never... Actually, I'll tell you something else. Right before COVID hit, they had opened up a Chick-fil-A a few blocks from where I worked. And I thought, man, this is a bad thing, right? And I was like, no, I'm not going to go in there. And then one day I went in there. I said, I've never had Chick-fil-A. Let me go in there and have Chick-fil-A and try it out for the first time. See what the big deal is about Chick-fil-A. And I got like a burger or a chicken sandwich. I got a chicken sandwich. And it was fucking great. I had that and the fries and everything. And then I realized why people like Chick-fil-A so much. And I guarantee you I would have been back there so many times. And then COVID hit. And I never went back. And I think it was for the better. Had I continued to go there, I would be a lot bigger than I am right now. So it kind of worked out in the end. Five Guys. Yeah, there's a Five Guys 2 blocks away from me. I don't go into Five Guys. I had their food once. The burger was good, but I can't go there. I can't go there. You make a habit out of going there, it's not going to end well. But there's a Five Guys and there's a oh my god, the Mexican restaurant. Anyway, they were like right next to each other. They're a few blocks away from me. I forgot the name of the place. All of a sudden, it popped out of my head. If you can believe it. No, Jack in the Box. Never had Jack in the Box. P.F. Chang's. Yes, P.F. Chang's was a favorite of mine, and the one P.F. Chang's that was not even really close. I wouldn't say it was close. It was out on the island. I'd have to drive 40 minutes to get there. They closed during COVID last year, so Chipotle, yes, thank you, Chipotle. I loved P.F. Chang's. I was devastated when I found out that they closed. I would always go there on my birthday, and I'd order like one of everything. It was like a religious experience for me. And now I have no more P.F. Chang's. I don't know. I don't know of another one that's anywhere close to me. So that was the end of P.F. Chang's. You know what I miss? I miss Roy Rogers. Roy Rogers was great. They had that Fixins bar and those pickles. Oh, so good. Roy Rogers was great. Whatever happened to Roy Rogers? Panda Express. Yes, I am a big Panda Express fan. Actually, when I went out for WrestleMania 31, I ate In-N-Out for the first time. And In-N-Out was good. It was pretty good. People compare it to the other chain. I think that the one in Texas, and there's like a whole big debate about which one is better. I forgot the one in Texas, what that one's called. But I had In-N-Out, one time, and I can understand why people like it so much. Roy Rogers is not rest stop food, although rest stops are probably the only place where you can probably find Roy Rogers anymore. You hate pickles on any food? You and I can't be friends. Whataburger, yes, that's the big debate. People debate In-N-Out or Whataburger. I've never had Whataburger before, but I've had In-N-Out, so I can't judge because again, I've only had one of them. Amiibo says Roy Rogers still exists, believe it or not, mostly on highway stops. Boston Market near me closed. You know what? Yeah, they did have a Roy Rogers across the street from Madison Square Garden. I don't know if it's still there or not. I don't know. I have not been over there in a couple of years in that area, so I don't know. I don't know if Roy Rogers is still across from MSG or not. Dairy Queen, Sbarro. I used to have Sbarro. There was a Sbarro in the student center at the college I went to. They had it right there in the student center, and I used to love their food until I couldn't have cheese anymore. And then that pretty much eliminated everything good that they had to offer. And so to show you what a psychotic person I am, I wasn't ready to fully give up on their Big Ziti. So I would go to the student center. I would order Big Ziti. I would sit there at the table, and with my fork, I would try to pick all of the cheese off every noodle in the Big Ziti. Now, I was never successful, and I always ended up getting sick, but I tried because I loved it so much, and I wasn't ready to give it up yet. I literally would try to pick the cheese off of it because they never. I think I must have asked them, "Can you do it without cheese?" And they were like, "No, it's just noodles." So I was like, all right, well, it gives it its flavor. Do it with the cheese and I'll pick it off. But it's impossible. Have you ever tried to do that? It's impossible. That's how much of a psycho I am. So eventually I just gave up and I said, I guess I can't have Big Ziti anymore. So this was about 20 years ago. Have I had Hardee's? No. No, I have not. Although I hear the blood alcohol content there is very high. Let's see. Wendy's. No, not a Wendy's guy. Food Hive says Brit DMD still has heat in Texas for her Whataburger diss. She did get a lot of heat for that comment. What was my go-to eat during college? Popeyes. It was a Popeyes right off campus. I would walk off campus. It was right there. It was in a bad neighborhood, but I took my chance. I'd walk there, get the food, and would hightail it back to my dorm. So for me, it was Popeyes. Do I like seafood? I like shrimp. I like shrimp, and when I went to New Orleans for WrestleMania 30, there's a great place. It's in, I think it's in like the Hilton Hotel or whatever. It's called Drago's. And they had the most amazing char-grilled oysters. First time I ever had oysters. Char-grilled oysters. They were amazing. Amazing. Generally, though, I don't really eat seafood. I'm not really a seafood guy. Crab, lobster. I've never had any of that stuff. Anything I have to break apart, slit my fucking hands, like I'm not doing that. So, octopus. I'm not really a big seafood guy, honestly. Outside of shrimp, no, not really. I like the baby shrimps they give you when you get Chinese food. I like that. Sushi? No. I've never had sushi. Really want to try those New Orleans drinks? You really should. I have a lot of great memories of being on Bourbon Street for those WrestleManias and having the hurricane, the hand grenades. The hand grenades would knock you for a loop. You see a lot of people walking around with those long green like hand grenade things. Yeah, I miss that. I miss New Orleans. I miss New Orleans a lot. Sushi is awesome. Yeah, I just never had any interest in trying it. I just doesn't look very appealing to me. What a Burger against In and Out is an eternal battle. It sounds like it. I've heard a lot of people like, I mean, they're serious about that whole debate. Fawaz with another message. Hey, buddy, just wondering, how can I get the Solomonster Championship? Is it available? It is not. It is a custom-made gift. So there is only one. There is only one Solomonster Championship. But I'll tell you what, if you could pull off another sign like you did in the past, even just that would be amazing. We're always on the lookout in Saudi Arabia for the Solomonster signs. Korean barbecue. I have had Korean barbecue. Korean barbecue is very delicious. Very, very good. We've got EJ Slemp with the $4.99. People can debate Whataburger versus In-N-Out, but Culver's here in the Midwest is the best. I am biased because my brother works there and hooks me up. I can honestly say I've never heard of Culver's. I have no idea what kind of food that is or how good it is, but you've piqued my interest. Do I like salmon? No. Not really a fish guy. I'm a fish sticks guy more than fish. You'll find me having a fish stick before you find me having a fillet of sole, for example. Did I ever go to WWF New York? Yes, I've told that story before. I've been to WWF New York. I went 3 or 4 times. Not for nothing, the burger there was pretty good. The food there I thought was actually pretty good. Yeah, it was a lot of fun there. Play theme music on the loudspeaker when you walk into the merchandise store. The merchandise store was on the main level. Once you go in, you go downstairs, and that's where the club and the restaurant area was. Mighty Quinn. I've never heard of half these places. Mighty Quinn, Culver's. I've never even heard of half these places. Best steak? I mean, you gotta go filet mignon. Come on, man. You gotta have your filet mignon well done with ketchup. Yeah, that's the way to do it. Well done steak with ketchup, right? There's nothing better. Come on. Come on. Oh. Eric says he remembers the food being terrible at the WWF place, but the atmosphere was cool. I don't know. I thought the food was fine. I thought the food was fine. I knew it would be like tragic for Food Hive to hear me say well done steak. All right, we'll go medium well. How about that? We'll go medium well. Medium well. Maybe a little bit of A1. We can do that. Yeah, ribeye. Look, ribeye's not bad either, but filet mignon, you get a nice like 8-ounce or 12-ounce piece of filet mignon. Can't beat that. Oh, Ray. There's Ray. Look at this. Ray Wrighton is with us. I'll buy you Chick-fil-A at the next House of Glory show. I might take you up on that. Do they have a Chick-fil-A in the area over there by Terminal 5? God, I haven't been to Terminal 5 in ages. I don't even know. It's been so long. Yeah, now look, the thing with the burger, I had a burger from a place that I had been to many times before, and I never had any issues. It was actually out on Long Island. This is a few years ago, and I got very sick. I got food poisoning. I ended up in the hospital. They put me on an IV drip, and it was a whole like awful thing. So ever since then, I usually do the burgers. Always medium well. It used to be medium, now it's like always medium well. Because I'm almost positive it had to come from that burger. There's nothing else that it could have come from, so I'm a little, I'm a little more careful now when I order at some of these places, because you never know. You never know. I mean, it's not like Food Hive is cooking my food. I know Food Hive would do a good job, as long as he's paying attention and he's not off, watching some Smurfette porn or something, then I know he's going to be a really good chef and he would cook me a good meal. But not everybody is as good of a chef as Food Hive. So that's what happens. Warhawk Rambo, are you a fan of Mountain Dew? Ugh. No. Not a fan of Mountain Dew. Food Hive says, how fat are we? You are all making me hungry. I'm making myself hungry. It's 12 o'clock in the morning. I'm ready for a fucking ribeye and a filet mignon. What steakhouse is open after midnight? I don't think there are any. What is the best pizza in New York? I'm not really the one to ask because I don't eat pizza anymore. I haven't had pizza in many years because I can't. But I mean, look, New York has tons of great pizza places. So I'm just not the one to really ask that question to. Yeah, Darth, I think we're gonna need a Smurfette super chat. I think you're right. I may have to look into that. Food Hive would be so excited every time she pops up on screen. He would be so happy. Denny's, come on now. Come on now. I'm loving this food discussion. I don't know how we got on this subject, but you guys are making me hungry here. I was on a pancake kick a few months ago. For whatever reason, out of nowhere. And there's an IHOP near me. And I went in there, and it was the most disgusting place. Like, it just, from the moment I walked in, like, my shoes were sticking to the floor. I sat down, like, the utensils on the table were all, like, dirty and stained. I was so grossed out being in there. And then I had the food, and it wasn't that good. So I don't really know what the big deal is about IHOP. So I feel like IHOP, people like, oh, IHOP, like, I don't really see what the big deal is. Amiibo, you would enjoy Peruvian. Look up Lomo Saltado. I might. When I went to Central America, I didn't know. I was a little afraid to kind of get out of my comfort zone. And sometimes I have to push myself and like try new things. But all I did, I just stuck to arroz con pollo. That's all I ate the whole time. So my friends are trying all these different things, and we're trying to go to like local places, not like a chain or anything like that. We're in the middle of nowhere, like in Costa Rica, and we go to this, like literally this mom and pop shop. Like it's a restaurant they run, and they're going to cook. Like we're the only ones in there, and they're cooking us a whole meal, and it's great. And they're like, what do you want? I'm like, arroz con pollo. And my friends are like, that's the third time you've had that today. You had it for breakfast. You had it for lunch. You're going to have it for dinner. I go, yep, arroz con pollo. That's all I ate for the whole trip, and it was great. It was the best arroz con pollo that I have ever had, even though I had it like 12 times. It was fucking great. I had so much rice, though, I didn't shit for like 2 weeks, but that's beside the point. Food Hive says, I'm sorry I brought up food, guys. We are all hungry. That's okay. You know, sometimes we go off topic here. We talk about whatever, and that's what makes it fun. Come on, man. It's all good. Oh, yes. Yes. Fogo de Chao. Fogo de Chao is one of the best places I've ever been to. Fogo de Chao in Manhattan. I went there, and they tell you how the whole thing works. You got to hold up the sign, red and green, and they bring all kinds of cuts of meat out to you, and you're so stuffed you can't even move when you're done. All the steak. Oh, Fogo de Chao is great. And actually, some of the best, I think it was Chinese, right? At Tao. I went to Tao in Chicago. And they had very good food also. Solomonster with the Ric Flair low blow on Food Hive. It's all good. Chicken or steak tacos. Well, look, I don't have tacos too often, but, I thought, hey, Thunder Rosa, she's got her taco blog, and she asked me once, she goes, hey, would you be on the blog? I go, hey, sure, you just got to let me know the next time you come to New York. So I'm just saying, hey, Thunder Rosa, whenever she's back in town, Solomonster is ready for his taco journey. I just won't be having any cheese on it, just so you know. It'll be a cheeseless taco. But whenever she comes back to town, we got to make that happen. I did not go to Portillo's in Chicago. No, I went to Tao. I did not go to Portillo's. No. Do I like hot sauce? No, I don't like anything spicy. I have a person I used to work with. He loved all that stuff. He would literally walk around with a little tiny bottle of Tabasco sauce wherever he went, and no matter what he ate, he would pull it out and pour it on. I don't know how people do that. I think that's sick, but I guess it's an acquired taste. Money Benny with $1.99. Al Snow's dog. Poor Pepper. Pepper steak. Pepper steak is pretty good. Yeah, poor Pepper. Eric says, I love hibachi. Japan place in Ohio where I grew up, and they make the food in front of you, and it was delicious. Yeah, I love hibachi. They put on a great show every time you go, but they never give you enough food. That's the thing about hibachi. I feel like you never get enough, right? They give you that little bowl, that little cup of rice. They give you a little bit, and they always end up giving the person next to you more, and I always just end up getting pissed off. But I always had fun doing hibachi. We did hibachi on the Jericho cruise, actually. Food was good on there. Olive Garden, yeah, great breadsticks at the Olive Garden. Hung out with Virgil once. Steven says, my abuela taught my brother and sister how to make birria. If you haven't had birria tacos, it is a must. I have not had birria tacos. No, I have not. Habanero. You know, I feel like there are some people in the chat right now. You're the kind of people that would have like that ghost pepper chip. Don't they have like that the black chip or whatever it's called, where like you take one bite of it and you got to have like a glass of milk nearby. Make sure that you don't start heaving. What do they call that? They have like the one chip challenge or something. I don't know how those people do it. I really don't. I don't know why you would subject yourself to that kind of agony and torture. How often do you leave the house to go to the city when you go to the office and eat food? I don't go to the office anymore, so I don't have to worry about it. There is no more office. Yeah, the Packy, that's what it is. The Packy one chip. The one chip challenge. You couldn't pay me enough money for that. Frost says, yeah, me on Hot Ones. That would be great. Me, and I like Hot Ones. I watch it. I've seen the ones with like Sasha Banks and oh god, what was the other one? There was another good. Sasha did pretty well actually, I think, on Hot Ones. I would forget about it. The first wing that I take a bite out of, I would be done. That would be the end of it. I'd have fucking sweat pouring down my brow. It would be the most disgusting thing you've ever seen. But it's funny, you know, someone mentioned edibles. I was at a friend's house, and the friend shall remain nameless, although they might be listening to this or watching this. I was at a friend's house once. We were getting ready to go out, and he had like a bowl of, I think it was gummies. I think it was gummy bears. And I love the red gummy bears, right? So I look over. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm gonna take a couple of gummy bears here. Well, I didn't realize they weren't just gummy bears. So that was a very interesting afternoon. Food Hive wants to know, would I ever be on Hot Ones eating hot wings? As I just said, it would be the shortest episode of Hot Ones that you have ever seen. It would literally be like a 60-second episode of Hot Ones. And they would have to cut, and they'd have to have medical personnel on the set. They'd have to have an oxygen mask ready, maybe an oxygen tank, maybe the defibrillator paddles. It would be awful. It would not work out well. Yes, I am a Stranger Things fan. I love the most recent season. Loved Stranger Things. All right, again, here's the poll one last time here for those of you who missed it. You can vote at Solomonster on Twitter is the handle. Food Hive says Hot Ones, Jericho, Stone Cold, Undertaker, and Sasha Banks. Yes, I think I've seen all of them. But I think Sasha actually maybe handled it the best. Austin did pretty well too, though. I think when Austin was on there. Did I freak out from the edibles? No, I didn't freak out. Actually, it almost put me to sleep. Nothing very exciting. Yeah, now we're gonna have to wait a couple of years probably for the final season of Stranger Things. They're gonna be getting back in the writers' room next month to first write it. And I don't know how they're going to explain how much older the kids are. So I feel like from season 3 to season 4, they got so much older. And now season 5, it's got to be like a direct extension of season 4. And they're going to be that much older when they, by the time they actually film the fucking thing. So I don't know how that's going to look. Hey, Ace of Master, thank you for the $9.99. I had a great birthday weekend at PWG on Sunday and witnessed a great battle between Speedball Mike Bailey and Buddy Matthews. But now I am suffering today with COVID. Oh, no. Well, that sucks. Well, hopefully you have a better time of it than I did, because that was no fun. So PWG gave him the COVID. So get well soon, Ace of Master. And oh, Harold, did I ever watch the HBO series Oz? Wild stuff. I did not see Oz, but I did finally watch The Wire a few months ago, and I enjoyed that very much. That might be the best episode of Hot Ones, with Solomonster trying to survive one hot wing. I'm telling you, man. If I got one down, I would consider that a great accomplishment. I would be very proud of myself. I'd be trying to have a conversation with the guy. I wouldn't even be able to speak. I wouldn't be able to get a word out. It would be awful. If I'm looking for sad tweet, check Jordan Grace. What does she say now? I didn't see what she said. React to The Wire. I love Bunk. Bunk is my favorite character on The Wire. But see, and I like The Wire, don't get me wrong, but to me, the thing about The Wire is, and the reason I don't put it ahead of a show like The Shield is because there just wasn't enough action, right? Because you're sitting on a wire. There's a lot of sitting around and observing and watching and waiting, and it gets kind of boring sometimes. But like The Wire, it's very simple. Like, they sit around, they go to the bar, they throw up. The next day, they sit around, they go to the bar, they throw up again. That's The Wire. I just summed up The Wire for you. There it is. There's The Wire. Oh, that's right. Yeah. See, if I was on Hot Ones, I can't even drink milk to reduce the heat. I don't know if soy milk would have the same effect, or almond milk. I might be shit out of luck. All right, guys, this has been fun. I have enjoyed hanging out with all of you. I hope you've had fun too. We're going to be back live on Friday night for the SmackDown Rampage, or as I call it, the Smack Page stream. And of course, as always, this Sunday, episode 764 of the podcast, where we'll talk about Raw, we'll talk about the Great American Bash, and we'll talk about all the news and tweets and everything from the week, as we always do. So be well, stay safe, have yourselves a great rest of your week, and I better see you back here on Friday night for some Smack Page. And again, if you want to check out that watch along from earlier, all channel members, you have access to it. Go back and watch it, sync it up with your Peacock, and you can watch along the Canadian Stampede main event. It's a great match. So I'll see you guys on Friday night. Take care.